The demographic that most scares the CIA, MI6, Deutsche Verteidigungs Dienst, KGB, cryptocracy is intelligent Russian mental patients. And indeed, there are a network of highly intelligent Russian mental patients working against this cryptocracy. Indeed, a network that I was once associated with, the National Anarchist Movement, which is itself basically a reincarnation of the Process Church of the Final Judgment and is a joint British intelligence Deutsche Verteidigungs Dienst operation. Indeed, they have spent a lot of effort attempting to recruit people from this network of highly intelligent Russian mental patients. Indeed, they've had no luck. Indeed, I believe the interest that the National Anarchist Movement had in me was due to my connections with this network of highly intelligent Russian mental patients who are working against the cryptocracy. Meanwhile, the National Anarchist Movement, in coordination with networks such as the Order of Nine Angles, the accelerationist neo-Nazi Satanist group, these networks are working as proxies for the very cryptocracy that myself and the networks of highly intelligent Russian mental patients are working against. So, very interesting indeed. The National Anarchist Movement is headed by a very creepy intelligence operative and Freemason called Troy Southgate, and his main sidekick is a very creepy Satanist who describes himself as a hermeticist called Adam Orms. And these guys are basically the Ahnenerbe for Anglo-German intelligence operations. Indeed, one of the National Anarchist Movement once said to me that the National Anarchist Movement are the true Illuminati, which is very interesting and reveals a lot about the way that the National Anarchist Movement perceive themselves. Indeed, the National Anarchist Movement is basically a Deutsche Verteidigungs Dienst operation posing as an anarchist network coordinated by British intelligence operatives. So it is basically a reincarnation of the Process Church of the Final Judgment. Indeed, these networks of Troy Southgate would deny these accusations, claiming themselves to be a genuine anarchist network. However, they are not. They are operatives for the cryptocracy and are social Darwinists and believe in a philosophy where the strong dominate the weak. And I also believe that they absolutely despise psychiatric patients. And after my rather dramatic split with this network, I expect they despise psychiatric patients all the more. Indeed, I am half expecting them to attempt to try and contact me again in the future because they wish to tap into this network of highly intelligent Russian mental patients who have basically formed their own intelligence network. And I believe that the National Anarchist Movement would like to incorporate this network into their accelerationist agenda and attempt to try and co-opt it. Indeed, these attempts are basically orders from the cryptocracy given to Troy Southgate to break up this network of highly intelligent Russian mental patients that the CIA, MI6, Deutsche Verteidigungs Dienst, KGB cryptocracy are so afraid of. Indeed, it's all a rather interesting concept to analyze. Indeed, I have come by some information that the elite KGB operative known as President Putin of the Russian Federation is in fact a rather dangerous pervert with a predilection for prepubescent males. Indeed, I expect this is known about within percentages of the Russian cryptocracy. However, it is very rarely mentioned. Indeed, the Russian cryptocracy is a overarching Hydra monolith organization that rules the Russian Federation. Indeed, there is much crossover between the supranational KGB networks, as I was documenting in a video recently, and the Deutsche Verteidigungs Dienst. Indeed, this dates back to the Prussian intelligence networks, lending a helping hand to the formation of Russian intelligence networks in the early 1800s. And the KGB secret societies are basically extensions of German occult orders. Indeed, there are some differences between these networks, but overall it seems that the German occult orders do have a large degree of dominance over the KGB networks. Indeed, many of the KGB networks are themselves incorporated into the Society of Thule, which is one of the key German occult orders. Indeed, lower level satanic covens such as the Order of Nine Angles also have a large influential network in the Russian Federation, and I do not doubt that the National Anarchist Movement, who are basically the continuation of the Process Church of the Final Judgment, crossed with the Nazi Ahnenwerber, I do not doubt that the National Anarchist Movement have spread their tentacles into the Russian Federation. Indeed, they have tried to make alliances with neo-Eurasianist networks, such as those influenced by the head of the SVR, Alexander Dugin, and are attempting to incorporate the neo-Eurasianist networks into their accelerationist ideology. Indeed, it's very interesting to note that the National Anarchist Movement has attempted to merge itself with various Faith of Ishmael fundamentalist terrorist networks in their agenda to supposedly bring down the system in the West. However, they are merely a part of the agenda of the Illuminist cryptocracy and are pawns operating for the Nazi corporations. Basically, they are positioning themselves outside of this spectrum, but this is all doublespeak. The National Anarchist Movement are elitists and wish to position themselves in some sort of power vacuum that may arise with the collapse of Western civilization, and are attempting to form links with various networks that may bring this about. However, this all works in the cryptocracy's agenda, as the cryptocracy wishes for the system to collapse itself so that a new structure can re-emerge from the ashes. And the occult initiates of the National Anarchist Movement, which I have no doubt is an appendage of the Society of Thule, the occult initiates of the National Anarchist Movement would like to gain positions of power in a new order. And this is very similar to the agenda of the Order of Nine Angles. Indeed, their philosophies, many of them coined by David Mayat, who briefly converted to the Faith of Ishmael, which is interesting, the crossover between these Deutsche Verteidigungs Dienst intelligence appendages and the Faith of Ishmael. Indeed, his philosophies are very similar to those of Troy Southgate, although they are couched in different terms. So it's all very interesting indeed. There seems to be an interesting paradox in the fact that the networks of Troy Southgate wish to align themselves with neo-Eurasianists and National Bolsheviks in the Russian Federation. Indeed, the National Bolsheviks are Stalin worshippers. So it's very interesting. But when the Nazis mentioned their opinions on the Slavs, this is a bit of misdirection, because the real targets of the Nazi regime were Russians specifically, out of the Slavic ethnic groups. Indeed, they formed alliances with other Slavic ethnic groups, and their main target was the Russians. Indeed, I believe that Nazi continuum networks despise Russian heritage people more than they despise the Hebrews. Indeed, it seems very much that the Nazi continuum networks have large percentages of the Hebrew population under their control by programming and incentives, basically. Indeed, the Frankists were always a construct of German intelligence, and as I've stated, the Mossad and Shin Bet networks were trained and organized by the Deutsche Verteidigungs Dienst and continue to be operatives for the wider Deutsche Verteidigungs Dienst monolith in the modern world. Indeed, it seems that the main targets of hatred for the Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst and the Nazi continuum are ethnic Russians, and specifically elements of the population in Russia with certain intellectual traits. Indeed, intelligent mental patients and mental patients overall are targeted for destruction by the Nazi continuum cryptocracy, and also various other elements of intellectual Russians. And this relates to the fact that the Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst have contracted Chinese mafia cartels to provide base compounds for a synthetic drug explosion. Indeed, the Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst are attempting to destroy anarchist intellectual concepts among the intelligent Russian population via narcosis experimentation. Indeed, I believe this may potentially backfire, because certain chemical compounds have unique abilities in enlightening human beings, and especially with the nature of the Russian soul being what it is. Although addiction is a terrible concept, the utilization of these narcotic substances for brain expansion could backfire against the Nazi intelligence operatives wishing to contaminate the Russian intellectual soul. So it's all quite interesting how it's working out. Indeed, the Nazi intelligence continuum networks have themselves tried to heavily penetrate the intelligence services and security services of the Russian Federation, indeed attempting to gain as much domination over the intelligence and security structure of the Russian Federation as the Nazi continuum has over the intelligence and security structure of the State of Israel. Indeed, this is all part of an ongoing agenda. Indeed, the Nazi continuum networks have a huge degree of percentage control over the British intelligence and security structure. Indeed, this is evidenced by the fact that the current Director General of MI6, Blaise Metrovelli, is the daughter of a Ukrainian Banderist Nazi. And this is all part of positioning key Deutsche Verteidigungs Dienst operatives in select positions for the endgame capabilities, whereby accelerationist groups will hasten the demise of the nation-state fabric as we know it, resulting in multi-factional hybrid civil war scenarios, and thereby organized crime networks coordinated by the Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst and their British intelligence lapdogs can basically dominate the economy, allowing for the Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst overlords through their British intelligence cryptocracy subordinates to introduce an overarching techno-fascist surveillance state and the mind control potentials that techno-fascist surveillance state has to offer, which is a Nazi eugenicist psychiatrist's wet dream. So it all seems to be occurring that way indeed. The Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst has plans for the Russian Federation. Indeed, I believe this may take the place of a carve-up of the Russian Federation, whereby the western percentage of the Russian Federation to the west of the Ural Mountains will be divided into warring statelets run by factional warlords who will be intelligence operatives from the KGB structure, but due to the nature of power plays, these will be factional intelligence intelligence networks fighting against one another with puppet warlords. Indeed, some of these statelets will be direct NATO vassal entities, and indeed the carve-up will occur with the percentages of the Russian Federation east of the Ural Mountains becoming a vassal or direct territory of the People's Republic of China. Indeed, I believe it is a myth that the Russian population and the Chinese population are allies in a great conflict with the NATO countries. I don't believe this is how it actually is. I believe that the People's Republic of China is one of the biggest enemies of the Russian population. Indeed, they have designs on the vast natural resources yet untapped in Siberia, and see that as their territory anyway. And what with the connections between the Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst networks, i.e. German intelligence, and the Chinese Communist intelligence services, as well as the Chinese nationalist intelligence services, Kuomintang Continuum, all of these networks have a long relationship dating probably till the late 1800s, but really coming to prominence during the 1920s, with the Abwehr training the Chinese intelligence structure in the 1920s. And the munitions manufacturers of Germany, such as Krupp, which is now the ThyssenKrupp conglomerate, were arming the Chinese army as early as the 1920s. So the cryptocracies of the Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst and the People's Republic of China are very heavily interlinked. Indeed, I would even go so far as to say that the Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst has a controlling percentage over the cryptocracy of the People's Republic of China. Indeed, it seems that a lot of the narcotics activity, especially in the Russian Federation and the United States, the synthetic compounds of the narcotics seem to have a Chinese source, which seems to be part of an overall endgame. And whether or not this is a Chinese originating endgame, or it is in fact the brainchild of the Deutsche Verteidigungs Dienst, I cannot directly confirm. However, it all seems to be linking up in such a way as to make absolute sense that there is a continuum between the Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst and the Chinese Communist intelligence services, connecting to Chinese triads that are coordinating this mass drugging of various populations. Indeed, it is interesting to note that the Albanian mafia in the United Kingdom are themselves very much connected to Maoist ideology, which itself connects back to China. It is interesting that British intelligence chose the Albanian mafia to be their proxies, considering the Albanian mafia's connection to Maoism, thereby connection to China, which then links us back to the Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst and the fact that a lot of this is a long-term strategic agenda by German occult societies such as the Society of Thule. Indeed, there are many very interesting paranoids and clever conspiracy researchers who have posited the theory that the Society of Thule killed JFK, and indeed the networks of the Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst through the Skorzeny network and his Madrid-based Fascist International seem to be very prominent in the activities surrounding the assassination of JFK. Indeed, the Society of Thule seems to keep popping up. Indeed, I also believe that the conspiratorial author Philip K. Dick surmised that the Society of Thule killed JFK. And I am one to trust in Philip K. Dick's intuitions. So it all makes sense. Indeed, the National Anarchist Movement that I've mentioned already does seem to be a branch of the Society of Thule, and basically constitutes the Ahnenurbe of modern Britain. Indeed, although this is a European and American and British based organization, the roots of the network do seem to be more firmly entrenched in Britain. And this is a British intelligence operation acting as a proxy group for a wider Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst network interest. Indeed, this parallels the operations of the Process Church of the Final Judgment in the United States in the 1960s and 1970s. Indeed, the Process Church of the Final Judgment, which was a Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst network fronted by British intelligence operatives with connections to Scientology also. This network were implicated in the JFK assassination, as well as being a key component of the RFK assassination, were connected to the Manson family and various other cultist and intelligence operations that were active at the time. Indeed, it seems that the Process Church of the Final Judgment may have been training assassins with hypno-programming for various operations, and were later connected to such events as the Zodiac Killer and the Son of Sam killings in New York. So it's all an interesting web. Indeed, this is all intelligence activity. Indeed, this is the way that the intelligence services work. They set up proxies that seem like they're one thing when they're actually an organized intelligence function. And the Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst have set one of these up in the form of the National Anarchist Movement that appeals to usually lonely people with some sort of ethno-nationalist construct in their mind, but have turned against big government, and therefore, they find the National Anarchist Movement ideology appealing. However, the National Anarchist Movement ideology is a fascist one, and it's all an intelligence deception. So the National Anarchist Movement brings you in, and then soon enough you realize that all these people talk about is exactly the same ideology as that spouted by the Nazis in the 1930s. They blame everything on the Hebrews, and solely on the Hebrews. So it's not, the National Anarchist Movement is not an anarchist movement at all. It is an outright eugenicist, totalitarian network of elitists who wish to dominate the weak in society as much as possible with themselves in power pedestals, and they wish to persecute psychiatric patients, and they wish to basically formulate another Holocaust. And indeed, they also deny the rape gang phenomenon due to the fact that they are fetishists about such continuums as the assassins of the Middle East, of the Middle Ages. They are fetishists for these Faith of Ishmael secret societies. And they also feel a kinship with these people due to the latent anti-Semitism within these networks. Indeed, they are attempting to form their ideology based on these tendencies. And indeed, as I stated, they are connected to the Order of Nine Angles, the neo-Nazi accelerationist Satanist network. And these networks themselves link up to higher level intelligence operations such as the Temple of Set, which was spawned from the Church of Satan networks originally. And all of these networks connect back to overarching German intelligence operations such as the Ordo Templi Orientis, which is an occult network of intelligence operatives, which has gradually taken over British and American Freemasonry over the last century. Indeed, British and American Masonic lodges are now basically Deutsche Verteidigungs Dienst intelligence operations through the Ordo Templi Orientis connection, which is an occult network but is actually an intelligence organization. And this is basically how it is building up. Indeed, it seems that the KGB networks have also been heavily penetrated and thence co-opted by networks of the Deutsche Verteidigungs Dienst Society of Thule Inner Sanctum via the Ordo Templi Orientis, which seems to have weaved its way into all aspects of the Russian lodge system and throughout the Russian cryptocracy. Indeed, the SVR is highly coordinated by the Deutsche Verteidigungs Dienst via Ordo Templi Orientis proxies, and high-ranking initiates of the Ordo Templi Orientis networks are themselves high-level functioning Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst operatives, and these networks are running massive narcotics distribution platforms across the Russian Federation, just as they are in the Western world, as well as massive child trafficking operations. Indeed, wherever there is a war zone, children go missing, And these children usually end up in the Deutsche Verteidigungs Dienst child trafficking programs, which themselves connect to Nazi breeding programs also. And a lot of this is overseen by Roman Catholic Church institutions, and indeed in the Orthodox Christian countries, many Orthodox priests are involved in this agenda also, due to the co-option of the Orthodox Church by these networks over the centuries. And these activities are all interlinking. I still haven't figured out who is at the top of this chain, if anyone is actually at the top of this chain at all. Indeed, it seems like this is a factional power game. So the factions in dominance are always actually changing, although the decentralized Deutsche Verteidigungs Dienst network does seem to be the main component running the majority of these operations, often through their proxies in the Central Intelligence Agency and other American intelligence functions, and the British cryptocracy and the Russian intelligence structure, with their connections in the Chinese intelligence structure also. It all seems to be an overarching behemoth controlling the cryptocracies of the world, and the activities of these cryptocracies impacts heavily on the general population. And it seems that the only network that scares this cryptocracy is a network of highly intelligent Russian mental patients. So it will be interesting to continue to receive transmissions from this network and attempt to reveal to the world as much as possible the disgusting nature of the Deutsche Verteidigungs Dienst and their various cryptocratic subordinates. Indeed, I'm going to leave it there.